It's all part of a program that gets kids off the streets and into creativity. It's a terrific exhibition called Cool Arts 2000. 200 pieces of original art, from paintings to handcrafted yard work. What's more amazing, children created these colorful works through Theater of Hearts, a non-profit organization started by Sheila.
We're not here to make, little actresses or professional dancers or writers, but what we are here to do is to give the young people a goal. Youth First contracts local artists who understand the social needs of the community and who are able to creatively respond to these needs through the vehicle of arts workshops in areas such as video, storytelling, theater, dance, visual arts, comedy, improvisation, and creative writing.
We know that kids in trouble, that kids at risk, they are primarily almost 90% or more of those kids are right-brained and they're kinesthetic learners. They need to be able to do something creative. A right-brained kid is a very creative kid. When we take the arts from them, we take away something that is essential to their souls. Youth First has helped to return that.
I have been saved from drugs
And
And violence.
Because of art
And music. Poetry.
And dance. A new way of moving. A new way of seeing.
Theater of Hearts Youth First Artist in Residence program works to prevent youth violence with fine art educational workshops and provides the mentoring so crucial for making a positive impact in young lives. I'm Gina Davis.
University will our future.
We welcome your support.
To the council today a very special group and honor its director for very special work that they have done through artists in residence programs in schools, not only in the 9th Council District, but other districts as well.
If you're looking for something to do this weekend, you may want to check out some pretty cool art. Over 200 original paintings, drawings, collages, and masks will be on display done by inner-city youngsters who had never created art before this. The young people were teamed up with working artists to give them a chance to tap their creativity and learn the mechanics of drawing and painting.
I want to give my deepest appreciation for all the teachers, all the coordinators, the ministers, the community, all you guys who are coming in and supporting the arts.
A group of young people in Inglewood beat the heat today with some poetry.
The writing is a simple thing. Every job has a different style.
the Youth First program is a vital part and component of giving high-quality arts programming to this community. Yes, this is me.
Well, there was a fascinating gathering today of young artists. It showcased poetry, storytelling, comedy skits, and improv.
You could hear the drum beat for blocks this morning in South Central, and believe it or not, nobody was complaining.
Wonderful program for children. It's wonderful for school. The parents have gotten involved. They think that art is a very important part of their children's education.
I Armstrong. He's our board chair, so he's come along to support. They gave me a mic, so you're going to have to chime in.
Loudly.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you know, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for receiving us and for allowing us to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing for the last 15 years. Theater of Hearts Youth First, we have provided over 65,000 at-risk and underserved youngsters with quality, long-term fine arts education in music, dance, theater, visual arts. It's across the board. It's multidisciplinary. As you know, when we started, Theater of Hearts actually is an older organization, but the Youth First program, as I said, started in 1992, and that happened after the civil unrest. And when that happened, the kids were, everybody was like talking, and we noticed that the kids had no voice. I mean, they were being traumatized. They absolutely, nobody was speaking to them. So what our organization decided to do is to start a summer program. So we went into the communities that were affected by the civil unrest, and we found that not only did the children, they didn't have any arts, but they had no arts in their public schools either. So they had taken the arts away from mostly the public and underserved areas in this county. So we said, well, this can't just be a summer program. We have to look at how we can help facilitate our most at-risk youngsters. So after 2 years, we started our year-round program. So today we have a roster of over 300 professional artists who we contract to go into the various areas of Los Angeles County, and they are all underserved areas. And as you know, a lot of Los Angeles is a huge, huge county. So a lot of our youngsters cannot get to museums. They've never been to the theater. They can't get to any of the venues that we go to, and you think, well, you know, it's really easy for a parent to take their kids to a museum or to a theater or so forth. First of all, the funds aren't there. Second of all, it's very hard to get there. So what we decided to do is to bring the artists to them. And then once the youngsters are involved within their visual arts workshops, then we can take them out on a field trip to a museum or whatever, and then they're not just looky-loos. You know, they actually can talk about shadings and colors, and they feel a part of the community on a whole. So when Nick asked me to ask us to come to explain to you our organization, we were very, very pleased. And I know that we're very close to it, so we may have not answering a lot of questions that you may have. So if you have any questions, or if you'd like to chime in, or Caitlin would like to chime in, that would be great. Do you have any questions up to this point? Yes.
So it's school-based?
Well, okay, that's a good question. We go into schools, community centers, homeless shelters, detention centers, and probation camps. Now, we're looking at probation, alternative schools. Alternative schools are schools in which the youngsters have been asked to leave their public schools because of behavioral reasons or because of learning disabilities. We work with a lot of kids with ADD and learning disabilities, special needs kids. And as you saw on the tape, what Shirley Rouge said, that a lot of our underserved and at-risk youngsters, they have learning disabilities, and they're not really looked on as, you know, they just think they're lazy or whatever, but they have a learning disability. The arts, and a lot of you guys may be artists here or have something to do with artists, being in Google or whatever. We take the kids around the back door. When the youngsters feel good about themselves in terms of their self-esteem, all of a sudden they start to want to participate in the world, and in a positive way. So just recently, I went to a theater project that we did, and these were for underserved and teenage pregnant minors. We did a theater workshop with them. And we did the final work in progress in a church. Now, this church had nothing. It had really very little, nothing at all. Not only did they write their script, not only when the little raggedy curtain opened up, there was a whole set where a young lady took something from nothing and made this amazing set. The talent is, the young woman that directed it, the teacher said that she never ever raised her hand. She was almost, they thought she was mute because she never asked a question, she never did anything. But when the artist came in to start to work with her, not only did she become the narrator of the piece, she became the director of the piece. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I see the transformations on an ongoing basis. I see these kids, you know, transforming. I see them, you know, wanting to be a part of the world. You know, that they start to become excited about their schoolwork. They start to ask questions. Critical thinking, I mean, all of you guys here, sitting here, you have to solve problems every day. A lot of times in school, no one's asked to solve a problem. No one's asked to finish a project. They just go, oh, they can't do it. But within the arts, you have to finish. You have to meet your challenges. You have to move forward. And this is why the arts are so important to the fundamental component of education. And I have many, many, many stories to tell you, but that's just one of them. Mark, would you like to say a few things?
Most of us have had situations where we are empowered. And that, we take it for granted we're empowered. Either we excel at something, sports or mathematics or art or something that we've been able to, through our education, take advantage of. Most of these youth have never been empowered. It's the opposite. Everything for them has been a struggle and puts them in a situation of never feeling the success of accomplishment. And with art, music, dance, these things allow, and Sheila said it perfectly, they're really in art, there isn't necessarily a right and a wrong. You may not appreciate it, someone else may appreciate it, but yet you're still accomplishing something that empowers you to feel. I've been in art, my whole professional life, and the interesting thing about arts is whether it's commercial or whether it's fine arts, there's always passion involved in it, and there's always someone who appreciates it. Even if it's just self-expression and you realize that you've expressed something that's within you that you can share with others that may appreciate it or not, but that expression is the empowering part. And you know, some of these pieces I've seen 100 times, and some of them are new to me, but this is crazy. When you look at this, these kids are in situations where some of them have been incarcerated and really are struggling to even do through the daily function of even breaking a smile out. Yet they can, with the help of Sheila's artist, can come in and all of a sudden they've got something they grab onto, and it's incredible.
Any other questions? You want to get the brochures out there? Yeah. We work with youngsters from 4 years of age all the way up to 18 years of age. And each program is custom designed to suit the needs of the age range, what their needs are. So we're not a cookie cutter organization. They just don't go, okay, we want dance, we want theater, we want visual arts. We go in as the experts to work with the coordinators or the facilitators or the teachers to really design something that's going to work. Because the main thing, we say youth first, we want these kids to win. We don't want to give anything that the kids are not going to win and that they're going to be challenged. The professional artists that are on our team are just that. They are professional artists who have a heart, but who really challenge these youngsters to do this kind of work. So we're not doing so-called kiddie art. We give them the best supplies. We give them the best that we can. I mean, in terms of theater, we don't have the funds to do big designs and things of that nature, but we do what we can. Yeah.
Well, I have a sister who works with the Head Start program, so a lot of the children, obviously it's a free preschool program, and the kids she works with are 4 to 5 years old. They range in age. And how do you identify new groups to work with?
Well, usually it's like word of mouth. We're on the LA Arts Commission directory as programs, meeting the criticular for the standards of APA standards. We're also LAUSD, we're on that directory. The RAND Corporation has given us, in 1997, best practices working with underserved youth in the arts. So you can find us, and usually when we go into a facility, they tell others. One school or one facility will say, this is a great group. They really, really are able to work with the kids. The teachers, sometimes we've gone in and they've gone, yawn in the very beginning because they're burned out. There's a lot of challenges as being a teacher. And they really feel that a lot of times there's no hope for the youngsters that they're teaching, which is sad to say, but it's true. But we kind of go in and give them a little bit of infusion. So when they see their kids starting to, come alive based on what Mark was saying, they start to be energized, they start to be renewed again as teachers, and they start to use some of our techniques that the artists are using in math or language arts or reading. So it's a win-win situation. A lot of times I have to really say that the kids really know if you're giving them really not very good programming. They can tell. And they don't want to know, they're turned off because a lot of stuff is thrown at them. When they're given a program that is really quality, you've got really great artists working with them that really know what they're doing, then everything starts to change. They start to feel, oh, I'm worth something. I'm not just thrown something. Yes?
You mentioned techniques that some of the teachers carry on into more academic fields. Can you give any examples of that? And I'm also wondering is that something that just happens organically, or are you guys very conscious of trying
that's a good
to
question
transfer
too.
that knowledge, not only to the students, but to the teachers to better their time?
Okay, there's two ways. First of all, we're a long-term program, meaning that we're working with the kids at least 13, that's like 3 months, either once or twice a week. So they're getting trained all the time. When we're in there, we make sure on our orientation, we're training the teachers or the coordinators to stay in the room. So they're working alongside the youngsters. So therefore, they're being trained. They're being trained right along with the youngsters. And the curriculum in terms of how to integrate that into their curriculum, for instance, we have visual arts. Well, here it is, visual arts. And you look at in terms of if we're saying, okay, we're going to take dinosaurs, for instance. They start to read about dinosaurs. They start to read about Picasso. They start to read about Latino art. They start to read about, or tell a story, which is literacy. They start to read about how I felt when I did the picture, and then they write about it. So it's all interconnected. So a lot of the teachers start to infuse those techniques within their curriculum. We also do though, teacher development training alone with the teacher, if they so choose to want to just kind of get in the muck themselves and work out, we do that as well. Yes. Any other questions? Yeah, Nick.
Do you ever find any resistance from schools or school administrators or even teachers who feel stepped on, or are they very welcoming to have the help?
Well, there's both. Advocacy is what we do all the time by doing a quality program, by going in. We're not always welcomed in the beginning. As I said, you know, they may go, you know, we've got enough on our plate. There's these folks coming in, you know, yawn, yawn, yawn. Yeah, they say they're going to do everything. You know, they've been jaded a lot of times because there's a lot of programs that don't deliver. But most of the time, by halfway through, when they see the kids really engaged, they start to change their tune. Like we've been working at some sites for 10 years because they were turned around. And that's a you know, they start to, you know, turn around. The teachers start to ask for it. You know, they start to say, you know, I noticed that this guy we didn't even know what to do with him. And then we were working with some kids with special needs, and you know, there's a timeout room, you know, because they're on meds and so forth and so on. When we did our work in progress presentation, and when the artists are there, they're never in their timeout room. They love it so. And this was said, you know, by the principals and the teachers. They've never seen anything like it. So the arts really transform. And I'm not saying that we're the answer to everything. That's not what we're here. But it is a component that really works for most of the youngsters. And when we talk about underserved, at risk, all of our youngsters are pretty at risk today. You know, it's just that some have more funds to think, well, you know, maybe I can try this or that or something else, but there are others that need the step up.
So I don't know how easy this is, but how do you measure success?
Well, we have evaluation. We do a pre and post test with the kids prior, and that's like on vocabulary, what they've learned, because most of the youngsters that we work with, they haven't had arts before. We do an evaluation that's measuring their grades, their attendance, their teamwork, and other kind of issues there. What I can't remember what else is on there.
Well, one thing that I think is really important about the evaluations is that it measures how our program affects their work in other areas. So, like, for example, one comment I read was when we learned about fractions for creating secondary colors from primary colors, all the kids suddenly started doing better in math and things like that, or reading. I mean, you guys have already talked about confidence levels a lot, but how Sheila Scott was mentioning the right brain aspect. If they have trouble learning maybe math or something, and then they see how they can be successful with art, suddenly they have the confidence to try other things. So yeah, we've got the
evaluation from the teachers, we've got a survey from the kids, and a lot of times we get the administrative evaluations as well. So we get, you know, national endowment grants, all the arts grants we get. I mean, we're very well recognized in terms of an organization that does quality work. So we're funded by all of the arts folk that sanction arts education.
What's your full-time staff? And then also the volunteer staff? I mean, I'm assuming that the artists fall in...
No, they're contracted. And, you know, money has to flow in the community. And arts is something that a lot of times, you know, people go, oh, arts, you know, it's like, we don't have to pay for that. You know, you can volunteer for that. But there's another thing, is also the youngsters. We contract those, the artists, because we don't want them to be abandoned yet again. Usually if you're doing a long-term or a program, you know, a volunteer can say, I can't come in today, I can't do this today, I can't whatever, and the kids are really disappointed. So when we contract an artist, they know that they're going to be working for those 13 weeks. They're not going to get rich with us, but we're also going to respect their craft and talent by paying them. So that's a big part of our, you know, we want to respect the work of the artist and their craft and the talent that they bring. So, yeah.
So I presume that you would, in a general sense, prefer that schools were better funded for art education. Mm-hmm. And of course, it sounds like you work with a lot of organizations, a lot of centers that don't fall into the public school domain. But focusing on the schools for a moment, I wonder whether you do any work to lobby for state, state changes in state funding. If it's not you directly, what organizations?
Oh, we do it all the time. Letter writing, our constituency. There's a part of the Alliance for the Arts, we're a part of that. I've gone, and board members have gone to Sacramento, the California Arts Council, which we're a part of. We've been funded by them. They pull us in. We're always lobbying. I mean, but the lobbying, we have to do twofold: doing the work in the field and doing the work with our legislators.
Well, at the very least, you need to show the positive effects of the efforts that you're putting forward.
That's right.
And unfortunately you have to counterbalance that against choosing what people spend their money and time on.
Yeah, but you know what? I have to give credit to California right now because, like I sit on a steering committee for the county, and they are really looking at trying to provide all 82 school districts with arts education. Now, that's going to be a while. So we're still going to have to be in the trenches really fighting for that. But at least there's an awareness now, where when we first started, there was little or no awareness. And I think that because of, the folks like our organization and others who are out in the field, they see the transformation. So we're getting more and more support. Of course, the dollars, we're always looking for the dollars. That's going to be, yeah.
I think that you're way too young to see the arts leave the school, but I've had, my education was at LA Unified, and I had a ton of art. I could take industrial arts, I could take painting, photography, I could do all this stuff. My kids couldn't take any, and they went to a very privileged school, but it just didn't exist. The county decided that arts education, there just wasn't money for it. So, and then they started segregating the schools into, well, we're going to do this school that's going to specialize in math, and this school is going to specialize in science. And reality is that the arts component got just pushed away. So to see it coming back is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh.
Go ahead, yeah. I was wondering what sorts of what kind of training you give the artists before they go into the
training
classroom.
Did you say training?
How do you prepare the artists?
Yeah, they do need guerrilla training, and it's pretty much guerrilla training. The way our program, they are guerrilla trained by our staff at the office. They're given as much information as they can. We do an orientation, in-depth orientation with the artist and the site where they're going, so they know what's going on with the kids. The door is always open for them because it's really kind of on-the-job training when you first go in. Some of our artists have worked with everyone, and they can work with everyone because they have that personality to do. But some of our artists can only work with middle school kids. Some of them can only work with little preschool and 4-year-olds. Some really like to go into the probation camps and alternative schools. So we have to give them that kind of ongoing reinforcement and training when they're new. So the door is always open for them to talk to, and we also leave the door open for them to be able to speak to the administrators and to the coordinators on site. And we always say, there is nothing that can't be solved. So don't hold on to it, really put it out there. We have guidelines, very, very strict guidelines for the artists to follow, very strict guidelines for the administrators to follow when we're on site.
And they also provide lesson plans so we can tell exactly what they're planning on doing and work with them to see how their program is going to work with kids.
So most of the your artists aren't arts educators? Or
No, they're professional artists. And the reason why we go with professional artists because that is another educational component for the youngsters. They don't have the same structure as an administrator or as an arts or as a teacher would have. So it helps the teacher as well as the youngsters, yeah. But there is a criteria of getting in our program, yeah.
I was wondering also, sort of the quantity versus quality question regarding how do you choose sort of whether you're going to focus on, you know, we could choose to try to get more children involved in a program, or we can choose to just focus on the children that are already that are already sort of that you can already get, whose schools you already have access to, for instance. So I'm sort of wondering how do you see your organization in terms of I mean, are you more interested in focusing on? I'm sorry, it's a tough question because it's tough to say. We're going to choose on giving X children a better quality art education program, as opposed to we're going to try. Our focus is to try to give the entire state, for instance, a reasonable art education program. So I guess what are you more focusing on? Are you focusing on a local high quality?
We don't have the funds to get the whole.
Oh, sure. But
I mean, we're lobbying, you know, as much as we can. We do what we can with the funds that we have. I mean, that's the bottom line. Well, the vision, we have a huge vision. I mean, as the organization, the Artist in Residence program is there. I mean, we've been going for 15 years. We have a deep and wide, what can I say? We go deep and wide in all the different communities throughout the county.
But your focus is pretty much underserved.
Yeah. I think what you're saying is like, do we dilute the program in order to reach more people?
Right. Which isn't really a dilution in some people's perspectives. It may be just. Right.
I see what you mean.
You know.
Well, I think that we give our program, we implement it the way that we do it. So it's like 13 sessions, and that's how it's going to be. If we can get as many schools as we can to implement that program, that's great. But it's going to be that program for everywhere that we.
Yeah, we're not going to do less and give the youngsters less because we know it doesn't work. It's just a Band-Aid.
It sounds like meeting kids' expectations is a big part of what the program.
And we want them to walk away with some skills. So if you only do it like a couple of days, they have no skill level, they haven't learned anything. It's like a Band-Aid. It's like a fun enrichment kind of situation, which is not what we're doing.
Can you talk a little bit about the mentoring program and how you elect the kids? Because you talked a little bit about how certain kids are picked to mentor the younger children. How does that program work?
Well, that just is kind of by osmosis. When we're in the classroom, there are definite leaders that step up. Artists, all of a sudden, they see a leader that becomes the artist's lead youth artist, where they will step up to the plate. It just happens on an ongoing basis when we're there. So.
Mentoring program?
What, for the kids?
For the kids, as far as having some of the older kids come into the classrooms for the younger children?
Well, you're thinking as in a school kind of setting, but we go into various different classrooms. So it's not like it's all cohesive, like where younger kids, I mean, because the arts, some of the schools are like 3,000 youngsters. So we may be in 8 classrooms. And then if we have the funds, we rotate it into the next 8 classrooms. And that's how it kind of works.
Let's say that I know a child who's in a school that isn't well funded, at-risk kid, who's a great kid who I might want to try to get involved in this program somehow. How could I do that?
That you want to get involved?
That if I know individual children.
Okay. Okay, but you got to remember that we're an artist in resident program. So it has to, if a school is interested and the kid is in that school, then the principals can call, the parents, whoever can make the contact. And then we try to figure out how we can work with them.
We actually get that a lot. Either people walking by will see our sign and ask about the program and say, oh, well, how can my kid benefit from this? Or we'll get phone calls. And basically, what we recommend is that the parents or whoever it is talk to the school, talk to the principal, and kind of lobby for us and try to figure out a way to get us connected to the school, because we can't just have one random child, you know, go into another site or anything like that. So it's really a matter of getting the program implemented in that school or site or whatever. So, but they can talk to us personally and, you know, try and get a program started. We're always looking for new places to.
And also, if a kid has talent, by talent, and they really want to do something in the arts, we try to connect them. I mean, we've had kids go and work at Raleigh Studios. We're connected with UCLA Writers Program. We have 7 of our writers work with in the extension program, some 17, 18 years old, but they have to sign a contract with us, and their guardian has to, and they have to go through the whole thing. So they have to really be committed for us to take them to that next step. But we're there to connect them if they're really serious about wanting to get connected with the arts and they feel that this is something that they want to do. We try to help them with that.
The older kids, can I answer that question? Mm-hmm. Do you have any kind of a scholarship program or career guidance for the kids that are your superstar kids and that maybe might want to have a career in art?
We don't have a scholarship program. That's not where we've been coming from at the minute. As we say, we try to connect them with people who would give them a scholarship, like UCLA Extension, like you know, certain individuals in different studios or wherever they would go. So we try to connect them in that way. Our dream, of course, one day is to have our own visual arts and performing space. I mean, this is our dream one day, that we've got the residency program, and we have so many connections throughout the county. But wouldn't it be great if we had our own visual arts and a performing space that our most gifted kids could come from the artist in resident program? I mean, that's our big dream. Of course, that is something that we want to think about, and hopefully that I'll still be around when that happens.
We do have like Meet the Artist meetings where the students can talk to the artists about their professional career and sort of get an idea about how to go into the field. And I've heard statements that the kids make about, like, oh well, now I have a dream of being an artist and all that stuff. So we do try and facilitate that, but we don't have like a set program, like a scholarship program.
And have you or have the artists had contact from kids like many years down the line? You have said, I mean, your program's been around for 15 years, so.
Well, we had just recently a youngster who was in our program in the earlier time, and she came back through as an artist. So, you know, it takes some time, and because we don't have a facility, a lot of times the teachers, they'll return to the teachers, and they'll give us, you know, this girl is doing this, she's doing this, she's whatever. So that's kind of how we can keep track of it.
That's a little bit hard, huh?
It's harder the way, because we're an artist in resident program. We're moving out all over the place. But the schools come back to us and let us know. Yeah. Or, yeah.
What is the 13-week program in school or other center?
Well, it depends on the, it really depends on the discipline that we do. I mean, visual arts is really more expensive, and we kind of work with numbers. When you look at a program, we're looking at classrooms, you know, so it can go anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, depending, or even more if we're doing more.
For a school which handles how many classrooms?
Yeah, we would be working with sort of 60 youngsters or even more. So it depends, because the alternative schools, when I throw that number out there, it's kind of a number, because we also work with the alternative school. It's custom designed, so we have to look at it all differently. Yeah. One thing that we did want to talk to you about was the art lending program. And the art lending program is, we just kind of launched this art lending program. We have, I guess, one of the largest collections of youth art, maybe in the county, I'm not sure, maybe even in the United States, who knows. But when we do a visual arts program, we ask the youngsters, would they mind donating one of their pieces? We never ask them to give up their only piece. Because we're there for so long, they have, 5 and 6 pieces that they're walking out the door with. Sometimes they'll say, no, I don't want to. I want to keep it all. And sometimes they go, yes, I'd like to donate something back because I got so much out of the program. I want to see other kids get as much out of the program as I. So this is what this is all about. And what we do is you can pick out the art that we have. This is just smidgens of it, but it would go on the corporate walls or wherever you felt it would be. It's kind of fun and great. And it's a one way of giving back to us to keep our program going, and yet you get something as a suggested donation to put some of the youth art on the walls of your. We have one of our let's see, Presbyterian, he's a CEO anyway, we put it up in his corporate offices, and he said it was so easy to do business because they come in and they look at the kids' art, they see the age range of the youngsters, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, and they just start a conversation, and before they know it, business has started and everything's great. So we're kind of looking towards you guys, if you come to any kind of decision, to have a section in your corporate offices that you'd like to see some kids' art up. It would be really great for us. And I think it would be great for you. Yeah. Any other?
Do you ever work with Covenant House?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever worked with Covenant House?
No, we have not.
So how does the art lending program work? Do you work with the HR people, or how exactly does that all work?
How does it?
Yeah, how do you give the art into the company?
Oh, well, you come and choose it, depending on how many pieces you want, and then we will install it.
And where are you located?
We're located near downtown Los Angeles, at the edge of Mid-Wilshire. We're not downtown, but right at the edge of Mid-Wilshire on Lafayette Park. So, you make your choices. I mean, last week we had a construction, he just picked up like 16 or 20 pieces for his corporate office. And he came and he chose. Sometimes they'll say, well, you choose, based on your space. But you can always change it. But you can, everybody has their own kind of taste in art. I don't know how to do that, but everybody has their own kind of taste. And would you like to add to that or anything? Or?
No, I think that's a great question. It is something that I have a bunch of it in my office. There are a couple pieces there. And it always is people will never realize it was done by a my office. Other artists that are famous fine artists, and here's this one of the ones that I have mine up here. It's right next to it, so they'll see this rocky canal, and there's this rather expensive, and then they'll see the same host who is this.
Yeah, I mean, I can just run down real quick. This is middle school. This is ink on paper, middle school. And then, middle school is this is also middle school here. This is, I love this. you can kind of see it. It's called The Wrong Path. And it's a print though, but it's, I hope they're going this way and not that way. That was charcoaled on paper, and that was done by a 9-year-old. Again, this was done by an 8-year-old. This is mixed media. Clay and marker and all kinds of beautiful things. Sometimes we do mask. This is a clay mask. This is done by a 12-year-old girl. So, and then these are, prints that we have. This is done by a 9-year-old here as well.
Is that watercolor or pastel?
This is pastel on paper. Yeah, I mean it's hard to work with pastel. Yeah, so it's amazing. Yeah. So anyway, these are just, we wanted to just show you, and here is like a Basquiat kind of a, which is, it's called finger in socket. That's wild, isn't it? It's like finger in socket. And this was acrylic on paper, and let's see, age, yeah, he was 8 years old.
So this is a print. So you just went ahead and the kid cut that and you just made a print because it was really cool, or you have the original somewhere else?
We have the original.
Yeah. This is just to show people can pick around easily.
Yeah, we have, and we put the prints up as well. I mean, we kind of mix it up with the original and prints, Yeah.
You guys were showing, I saw that there was some artwork being exhibited, and there were celebrities that were looking at the artwork, Oprah especially.
Yeah.
Do you do that? Do you have exhibits?
Yeah, we've had, in fact, one of the first youth exhibits we had was at downtown at the brewery, at the arts down there, at Site Gallery. We had a huge thing down there. We also had a huge art exhibit at the Skirball, the Ruby Gallery, and that was the first time that they had, we approached them and they said, oh no, we don't do kids art, And then the curator came down and saw the art, and they were just like, yeah, we'll put it up, yeah. Oprah, we were the beneficiaries of her beloved premiere, so we hung it at the Arm & Hammond Museum. That's what you're seeing in there, where the artwork of the kids were hung there. We try to, we've had it at the Mexican consulate, and we exchange with kids from Oaxaca and our kids here. So, and at the Czech Republic, at their consulate. I mean, we're all over the place. We're kind of all over the place. Because we feel that, art is an international language, whether kids or what. So it really speaks to your heart, and like so.
Does the Lending Arts program only work through businesses, or people can purchase it for their private collections?
You can purchase it as well. But usually the arts lending program, that gives us some kind of sustainability. People get to see it. It's like a word of mouth, and it kind of rolls, and it's a great way it's a win-win situation.
It's unique too, if you're getting to, you may not want to have business in your home filled with I like it one piece, but it's not quite as impactful having one piece as having a dozen or however many fit, and really getting to see a whole body of work like a gallery would do, and then that body of work would change out to something else. So that's where we've got great feedback and good value from it, as opposed to, you're not going to spend this money to buy one piece, which we surely can do. It's a little different than
and of course, it's tax deductible. I mean, suggested donation, tax deductible. You get, to have some art up for a while, but yet you get your tax write-off as well.
So how long have you been doing the lending program?
We've been doing it for about a year.
And do you feel like this is a good opportunity?
Well, it's a good opportunity for can I tell you, raising funds is ongoing. Doing huge events is labor intensive. So we thought, well, we've got the art, wouldn't it be great if we could earn some income this way? It would certainly help the program, the kids, everything else. People would get what they need, and it's a great way, we feel, a good business move in terms of doing it. So we really want others to tell others about it so we can perhaps really raise the bar, and we would be able to serve more kids, more stability, the whole thing.
Get a lot of people obviously involved in some kind of charity or a nonprofit, and a lot of times it's because of your complex schedules, business is just cutting a check. That's cool. In this case, you give you the hand, there's a tough in his back, you able to finish.
That you can actually enjoy it.
And it's really sweet. We have these little statements for each piece where the kid kind of talks about what they're thinking when they're doing it. We can provide those, and they're just so cute. Like one little boy made a mask, and it was called Alien Bug Mask or something like that. And he was like, I wanted to make an alien bug because that's what people act like sometimes. So it's really fun, these little anecdotes that can go along with the pieces. That's really sweet because it kind of adds a personal touch.
So we're out of time,
okay.
But if people have more questions, I think you guys are going to be around for a couple minutes to wrap these paintings up anyway.
Right.
I want to thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you.